What if Mace Windu led the resistance? Let's explore the depths of it in the video. A ghost walks into the resistance base on Dakar. The soldiers don't recognize him at first. An old man. Scarred face, cybernetic arm, purple lightsaber at his hip. Then someone screams, "Impossible! He's been dead for 30 years. Mace Windu, Jedi Master, survivor of Order 66, standing in their hangar like he never left. General Organa," he says calmly, "I'm here to win your war." Leia Organa stares at the man who shouldn't exist. She felt him die 3 decades ago. Felt him fall, felt the Jedi Order collapse around him. And yet here he stands, older, harder, but undeniably alive. The Hosnian system is gone, Mace continues. 5 planets, billions dead. The Republic has fallen again, the Jedi have failed again, and this time I won't watch from the shadows. Leia's hand moves to her blaster. "Prove you're who you say you are." Mace's eyes flash. "You're Han Solo's wife, Leia Skywalker's daughter. Trained by Luke, but never completed your studies. You lead through diplomacy and hope. But hope isn't enough anymore. The First Order needs to be destroyed, and I know how to do it." The command center erupts. Half the officers want him arrested. The other half want answers. How did he survive? Where has he been? Why show up now? But Mace ignores them all. His attention is fixed on Leia, because she's the only one who matters, the only one who can give him what he needs. Permission to fight, to lead, to do what the Jedi should have done decades ago. Take the war to the enemy and end it. Leia studies him for a long moment. Then she gestures for the guards to lower their weapons. "We'll talk privately." She leads him to her office, away from the chaos. When they're alone, she asks the question everyone wants answered. How? How did you survive, Mace Windu? The fall should have killed him. Palpatine's lightning should have finished it. But Mace Windu refused to die. 30 years ago, he plummeted through Coruscant's sky lanes, wind screaming past his ears, the city lights blurring into streaks of color. He reached for the Force, grasping desperately at anything to slow his descent. A repulsor platform, a speeder lane, something. His remaining hand closed around a maintenance cable, the sudden jerk nearly tearing his arm from its socket. He swung into a ventilation shaft, crashing through rusted metal and landing hard on a catwalk 3 levels down. Pain exploded through his body. His right arm, severed by his own lightsaber, sent phantom agony screaming through his nervous system. Burns from Palpatine's lightning covered half his face. 3 ribs were broken, but he was alive. Above him, the temple burned. Even from the depths of Coruscant's underworld, he could feel it. The deaths, the betrayal, the end of everything the Jedi built over 1,000 generations. He tried to stand and collapsed. His body had limits even the Force could not overcome. Footsteps echoed on metal. Clone troopers. Execute Order 66. All Jedi are traitors to the Republic. He forced himself to his feet, stumbling deeper into the shadows. Behind him, white armor appeared on the catwalk. Scanners swept the darkness. But Mace Windu had fought in shadows before. He suppressed his presence in the Force, becoming nothing, a ghost in the machine of the city. The clones passed by. He kept moving. The underworld of Coruscant is a place the Jedi never ventured. 5,000 levels below the glittering spires where senators debated and Jedi meditated. The forgotten masses struggle to survive. Mace finds refuge in an abandoned medical facility, the kind of place criminals use when they can't afford legitimate care. The droid inside is ancient, probably third-hand. Its programming patched together from a dozen different models. It doesn't ask questions. It can't. Its memory wipes every 48 hours. a security feature for the criminals who use this place. The droid scans his injuries, mechanical eyes processing the data. Extensive burns across 40% of body surface. Severe electrical damage to nervous system. Right arm severed at the shoulder. 3 broken ribs, internal bleeding. Recommendation: immediate surgery. Probability of survival without intervention: 12%. The droid gets to work without waiting for confirmation. Mace drifts in and out of consciousness as the procedure continues. Hours blur together. The arm will need replacing. The droid has a selection of cybernetic limbs confiscated from patients who couldn't pay or died on the operating table. Mace ends up with a crude prosthetic, heavy and uncomfortable but functional. The burns are treated with stolen Bacta patches. The ribs are wrapped. The internal bleeding is stopped. When it's done, Mace is alive but barely. The droid presents a bill. Mace pays with the last of his credits and stumbles out into the underworld. Recovery takes weeks. He finds a room in an abandoned residential block on level 900, a place where nobody asks questions and the walls are thick enough to muffle screams. The first few days are agony. His body fights infection. Fever rages through him. He hallucinates, seeing the temple burning, hearing the screams of younglings, feeling Palpatine's lightning over and over. But Mace has survived worse. He uses the Force to accelerate healing, to fight off infection, to cope with the pain. Slowly, painfully, he recovers. When he can finally stand without collapsing, he begins training. Relearning balance with a cybernetic arm. Practicing lightsaber forms with his remaining hand. Meditation to strengthen his connection to the Force. The room becomes his monastery and his prison. Outside, the Empire consolidates power. Holonet broadcasts trumpet victory after victory. The Separatists are crushed. The Clone Wars are over. Peace and security reign under Emperor Palpatine. Mace watches it all and feels sick. This is what they fought for. What the Jedi died for. A fascist dictatorship built on lies and fear. 3 months after his fall, Mace ventures to the surface for the first time. He needs to see the temple. Needs to know if anyone survived. He steals credentials from a dead bureaucrat, forges new identification, and takes a transport up through the levels. The city looks the same, but feels different. There are more stormtroopers on patrol, more propaganda posters, more fear in the eyes of citizens. The Empire has changed Coruscant from a beacon of democracy to a symbol of oppression, and nobody seems to care. Or maybe they're just too afraid to resist. Mace reaches the Temple District and finds it transformed. The Jedi Temple, once a place of learning and light, has been converted into the Imperial Palace, Palpatine's personal fortress. The bodies are gone, cleared away, and disposed of. But Mace can still feel their deaths in the Force, a wound that will never fully heal. He stands across the plaza, hood pulled low, and watches stormtroopers patrol the entrance. Inside those walls are secrets, archives, holocrons, knowledge that Palpatine will use to hunt down any surviving Jedi. And there's nothing Mace can do about it. Not alone. Not now. He turns away and returns to the underworld, his heart heavy with grief and rage. The months turn into years. Mace builds a new life in the shadows. He takes the name Kano and works as a security consultant, using his combat skills and Force abilities to protect those who can pay. Most of his clients are criminals, smugglers, spice dealers, information brokers, the kind of people the Jedi would have arrested in the old days. But Mace doesn't have that luxury anymore. He needs to eat, needs shelter, needs to survive. So he swallows his pride and does what's necessary. The work is beneath him, but it keeps him fed and hidden. And occasionally, when the opportunity arises, he helps people who actually deserve it. A family being extorted by gangs, a refugee fleeing imperial persecution. Small acts of kindness in a galaxy that's forgotten what kindness means. It's not enough. Will never be enough. But it's something. During this time, Mace also begins studying the dark side more seriously. Not to fall to it, but to understand it. He realizes now that the Jedi's refusal to acknowledge the dark side was a critical weakness. How can you fight an enemy you won't even study? So he meditates on his anger, his grief, his hatred. He learns to touch the dark side without letting it consume him. It's dangerous. Several times he comes close to falling, to letting the rage take control. But his discipline holds. Barely. He develops Va'apad further, refining it into something even more dangerous than before. A style that doesn't just redirect aggression, but amplifies it, turning an opponent's strength into an overwhelming counterattack. It's exhausting to use, requires absolute concentration. But when executed properly, it makes him nearly unstoppable. 5 years pass, then 10. Mace watches the galaxy change through holonet broadcasts and whispered rumors. The Empire tightens its grip. Dissident worlds are crushed, the Senate becomes a puppet show, and the Jedi, those few who survived, are hunted to extinction. Mace hears reports of Vader's Inquisitors, dark side users trained to track down Force sensitives. He hears about temples being raided, holocrons destroyed, any trace of the Jedi Order systematically erased. And he does nothing. Because what can one man do against an empire? Even a Jedi Master. He tells himself he's waiting for the right moment, building strength, gathering intelligence. But the truth is darker. He's afraid, not of death. Mace has never feared dying, but of failing again, of trying to fight and losing, proving once and for all that the Jedi way is dead. So he hides, works his jobs, trains in secret, and watches the galaxy burn. The shame of it eats at him. Every night he meditates on the Jedi Code, on the principles he once lived by. And every morning he wakes up and does nothing. This is his private hell. Survival without purpose, existence without meaning. The years pile up. 15, 20, 25. Mace is in his 60s now, gray-haired and weathered, his body marked by decades of violence. He's killed more people in the underworld than he ever did as a Jedi. Most of them deserved it. Some didn't. He's become the very thing the Order feared. A warrior without restraint. A Force user guided by pragmatism rather than principle. And yet, he can't quite cross the final line. Can't fully embrace the dark side. Because somewhere deep inside, he's still Mace Windu, still a Jedi. Even if he's forgotten what that means. Then comes Alderaan. The holonet broadcast shows it live. A peaceful world, unarmed, home to 5 billion people. And in an instant, it's gone. Reduced to asteroids by the Death Star, the Empire's ultimate weapon. Mace watches the footage in a dingy cantina, surrounded by lowlifes who barely react. Just another atrocity in a galaxy full of them. But Mace feels every death. 5 billion lives snuffed out in an eye blink. Men, women, children, erased because Grand Moff Tarkin wanted to make a point. The rage that fills him is incandescent, pure. For the first time in decades, Mace feels clarity. This is why the Jedi existed, to stop monsters like Tarkin and Palpatine, to protect the innocent, and he's been hiding in the shadows while billions died. The shame transforms into purpose. He leaves the cantina and returns to his apartment. That night, he packs his few possessions, his lightsaber, his credit chips, forged documents. He looks around the room that's been his prison for a quarter century. Then he sets it on fire and walks away. Mace Windu is done hiding. But before he can act, news breaks of the Death Star's destruction. A rebel alliance destroyed it. With help from a Force-sensitive pilot, the son of Anakin Skywalker. Mace sits in the ruins of his burning apartment and processes this information. A new generation is fighting, resisting, winning. And they did it without him. Part of him wants to join them immediately, to offer his skills and experience. But another part, the cautious part that's kept him alive for 25 years, hesitates. The rebellion is small, poorly equipped, constantly on the run. If he reveals himself, the Empire will come down on them with everything it has. Vader will come. And Mace isn't sure he can beat Vader, not as he is now. Older, slower, out of practice. So he watches, waits, follows news of the rebellion through underground channels. He learns about their base on Hoth, about the evacuation when the Empire found them, about Cloud City and Bespin, about a young Jedi named Luke Skywalker who's walking the same path Anakin once walked. Mace wants to intervene, to warn Luke about the dangers of emotional attachment, of fear, of the dark side. But he doesn't. Because who is he to lecture anyone? He's spent decades hiding while others fought and died. What right does he have to judge? So he remains silent, watches, waits for a sign that never comes. Then, 4 years after Alderaan, comes Endor. The Emperor is dead. Darth Vader is dead. The Empire is broken. The rebellion has won. Mace sits in a cantina on Nar Shaddaa, watching the celebrations broadcast across the holonet. People dancing in the streets, statues of Palpatine being torn down, the end of tyranny. And he feels nothing, just hollow, empty. Palpatine is dead, the man who destroyed the Jedi, who corrupted Anakin, who built an empire on suffering. And Mace wasn't there, didn't fight, didn't contribute. He survived through cowardice, while braver souls won the war. The shame is crushing. He drinks himself into oblivion that night, something he hasn't done in decades. And when he wakes the next morning, sick and aching, he makes a decision. The galaxy doesn't need Mace Windu. The war is over. A new republic is forming. Luke Skywalker is rebuilding the Jedi Order. There's no place for a broken old man who spent the war hiding. So he'll continue what he's been doing, working in the shadows, surviving. It's all he's good for now. The years continue to pass. The new republic struggles to establish itself. Imperial warlords carve out territories. Luke's Jedi Academy trains new students. And Mace watches it all from the underworld, a ghost haunting the margins of history. He's 70 now, old and tired. His body aches constantly. The cybernetic arm needs frequent repairs. He's slowing down, losing the edge that kept him alive. Soon, he knows, he'll make a mistake. Take a job he can't finish. Fight an enemy he can't beat. And that will be the end. Part of him welcomes it. Death would be a release from this half-life. But the Force has other plans. He needs a weapon. His lightsaber is gone, lost in the fall, or taken by Palpatine as a trophy. But the Force is still with him, and he knows where to find what he needs. Deep in level 1273, there's a black market dealer named Vix who specializes in antiques. Mace had tracked her operation years ago, but never shut it down. She was small-time, selling to collectors rather than criminals. Now he's grateful for that restraint. He finds her shop tucked between a noodle vendor and a spice den. She recognizes him immediately, despite the burns and the hood pulled low over his face. Her 3 eyes widen. She reaches for an alarm, then stops. Something in his gaze freezes her hand. "I need parts," he says quietly. "Lightsaber components." She swallows hard. I don't deal in Jedi contraband anymore, not with the Empire watching. He places a credit chip on the counter, enough to buy her entire inventory twice over. She stares at it, then at him. 1 hour, she says. Come back in 1 hour. When he returns, she has everything he needs. A power cell from a fallen Jedi's weapon. A focusing crystal she claims came from Ilum, though he suspects it's synthetic. Emitter components, a grip assembly, everything necessary to forge a new blade. She slides the package across the counter. You didn't get this from me, she says. And Jedi, if you're smart, you'll leave Coruscant and never come back. The Empire's hunting anyone who can touch the Force. They've already executed 50 Force sensitives in the lower levels. Mace nods and takes the package. Where would you go, he asks, if you had to disappear? She considers this. Nal Hutta, maybe. Hutt space. The Empire doesn't care what happens there as long as the spice keeps flowing. Or further. The unknown regions. Some say there are worlds out there even the Old Republic never charted. He thanks her and leaves. But he doesn't leave Coruscant. Not yet. He needs to see the temple one more time. Needs to know if anyone survived. He makes his way up through the levels, stealing credentials, bribing guards, using every trick he learned in decades of undercover operations. The Jedi might be gone, but Mace Windu's skills remain. The temple district is locked down, clone troopers patrolling every entrance. He watches from a rooftop across the plaza. The great doors stand open. Inside, he can see the bodies. Younglings, Padawans, masters he trained alongside for decades, all dead. The rage builds in him, the dark side whispering promises of vengeance. He could kill the clones, could fight his way inside, could make them pay. The lightsaber components in his pack seem to burn with possibility. Then he feels it, a presence in the Force, familiar, terrible. Darth Vader emerges from the temple, his cape billowing behind him, his mechanical breathing audible even at this distance. Mace's hand moves to where his lightsaber should be. The components aren't assembled yet. He's wounded, exhausted, one-armed. But the dark side is there, ready to fuel him if he just reaches for it. Just this once, just to end the monster Anakin has become. He takes a step forward, then stops. He remembers the Jedi code. There is no emotion, there is peace. But that's a lie, isn't it? He feels emotion, rage, grief, hatred. The Jedi code didn't save the Order, didn't save the younglings, didn't stop Palpatine. Maybe emotion isn't the enemy. Maybe it's a tool like any other. But using it now, against Vader, with clone battalions surrounding him, that's not strategy. That's suicide. He watches Vader climb into a shuttle and depart. Then Mace Windu turns away from the temple and descends back into the underworld. He finds an abandoned maintenance bay and begins assembling his new lightsaber. The work is meditative, focusing his mind, channeling his grief into something constructive. When he ignites the blade, it burns purple as always. The color of a Jedi who walks the line between light and dark. The color of Vapad, the seventh form, the form he created. A form that channels darkness without succumbing to it. He practices the movements, relearning the weight and balance with one arm. It's different now, harder, but not impossible. Nothing is impossible. The days blur together. He monitors Imperial broadcasts, learning the new reality. The Clone Wars are over. The Separatists are defeated. Jedi are hunted across the galaxy. A few escaped. Yoda, Obi-Wan, perhaps others. But the Order is broken. He considers searching for survivors. But Vader and Palpatine will be watching for exactly that. any gathering of Jedi will be destroyed. No, the smart move is to disappear, to wait, to survive. He forges new identification documents, takes the name Kano, finds work as a security consultant for a mid-level crime boss who asks no questions as long as the job gets done. The work is beneath him, but it keeps him fed and hidden. Months become years. He watches the Empire consolidate power. Worlds that resisted are crushed. The Senate becomes a ceremonial body, powerless and afraid. Palpatine builds superweapons, star destroyers that can level cities, orbital bombardment platforms, and rumors of something worse. Something that can destroy entire planets. Mace tells himself he's waiting for the right moment. But the truth is darker. He doesn't know what to do. The Jedi failed because they were reactive, because they let Palpatine control the tempo of events. But what can one man do against an empire? Even a Jedi Master, especially a Jedi Master everyone believes is dead. 15 years pass, then 20. The Holonet reports the destruction of Alderaan, a demonstration of Imperial power. 5 billion people murdered in an instant by a weapon called the Death Star. Mace watches the footage in a dingy cantina on level 900. Around him, lowlifes and criminals barely react. One planet among thousands. What does it matter to them? But Mace feels every death, a wound in the Force that will never heal. He leaves the cantina and returns to his small apartment. His cybernetic hand, crude but functional, clenches and unclenches. He's been hiding for 2 decades, waiting for a moment that never came. And while he waited, 5 billion people died. That night, he almost leaves his hiding place, almost makes his way to the surface, finds a ship, hunts down Palpatine or Vader or anyone he can hurt. But then news breaks of the Death Star's destruction. A rebel alliance destroyed it, with help from a young pilot strong in the Force, the son of Anakin Skywalker. Mace sits in the darkness of his room and feels something he hasn't felt in 20 years. Hope. Not much, just a spark. But it's there. The Empire can be hurt, can be defeated, and there are others fighting. He doesn't join them. Not yet. He needs to know more. Needs to understand if they're really different from the old Republic, or just another failed system waiting to collapse. 4 more years pass. The Holonet reports the Battle of Hoth. Rebel forces scattered, then nothing for months. Then the Battle of Endor. The Emperor is dead. Darth Vader is dead. The Empire is broken. The rebellion claims victory. Mace watches the celebrations on a dozen worlds and feels nothing. Palpatine is dead. Good. He should feel satisfaction, vindication. But all he feels is hollow. He wasn't there, wasn't part of it. Spent 24 years hiding in the shadows, while others fought and died. The new Republic rises from the ashes of the rebellion. Elections are held. Mon Mothma becomes Chancellor. Leia Organa, revealed as Luke Skywalker's sister, takes a seat in the Senate. The galaxy rebuilds. Mace continues his work in the underworld. He's an old man now, in his 70s, though the Force keeps him stronger than he has any right to be. He tells himself he's done enough. The galaxy doesn't need him. The Jedi are gone, and perhaps that's for the best. Luke Skywalker is rebuilding the Order, training new students. Let the young carry that burden. But he can't quite let go. He monitors the Holonet obsessively, tracking every development, every crisis. The new Republic struggles with Imperial remnants. Warlords carve out territories in the Outer Rim. The Senate argues about military spending while star systems burn. It's the old Republic all over again. Bureaucracy and debate while people suffer. Then, 30 years after the fall of the Jedi, The holonet erupts with news that stops his heart. The Hosnian system is destroyed. 5 planets annihilated in seconds by a weapon called Starkiller Base. The capital of the New Republic is gone. The Senate is gone. Mon Mothma is dead. Billions of lives extinguished. And claiming responsibility is something called the First Order, risen from the ashes of the Empire, led by Supreme Leader Snoke and his apprentice, Kylo Ren, the grandson of Darth Vader, the son of Leia Organa and Han Solo, turned to the dark side after destroying Luke Skywalker's new Jedi Order. Mace Windu stands in his small apartment and makes a decision. The galaxy is burning again. The Republic has fallen again. The Jedi have failed again. And this time, he will not stand aside. He packs his few possessions, his lightsaber, his cybernetic arm, upgraded over the years with components scavenged and stolen, identification documents, credits. He looks around the apartment that has been his prison for 3 decades. Then he sets fire to it and walks away. Kano is dead. Mace Windu is going to war. Finding the resistance isn't difficult. They broadcast on encrypted channels, recruiting anyone willing to fight. Mace traces the signal to Dakar, a remote world in the Outer Rim. He steals a ship, a battered freighter that barely holds together through hyperspace, and sets course. The base is hidden in the jungle, a collection of prefab structures and aging starfighters that speaks to how desperate the Resistance truly is. He lands and is immediately surrounded by soldiers, blasters trained on him. He raises his hands, the gesture almost mocking. "I'm here to see General Organa," he says. The soldiers look at each other, uncertain. "And who are you?" one of them demands. He considers lying, but the time for hiding is over. "I am Mace Windu," he says, "Jedi Master, and I'm here to help you win this war." They take him to Leia. She's in the command center studying tactical displays, her hair streaked with gray, her face lined with decades of struggle. She looks up as he enters, and for a long moment, neither speaks. "I watched you die," she finally says. "I felt it in the Force." "Fell out a window after Palpatine electrocuted me?" Mace replies. "Turns out I'm harder to kill than he thought." Leia studies him, and he can feel her reaching out through the Force, probing his intentions. She's not trained, not really, but she has power, raw and instinctive. "You've been hiding for 30 years, she says. "Why show up now?" "Because the Republic fell again," he says bluntly. "Because the Jedi failed again. And this time I won't watch from the shadows while the galaxy burns." Leia gestures for the guards to leave. When they're alone, she crosses her arms. "We could use a Jedi Master. But I need to know you're here to help, not to take over. I've dealt with enough men who think they know better than everyone else." Mace nods slowly. "I'm not here to replace you, General. But I am here to win. And that means doing things differently than the old Jedi did. Than the old Republic did. We can't afford to be reactive anymore. Can't afford to wait for the enemy to strike and then respond. We need to be aggressive, proactive. Hit them before they hit us." Leia's expression hardens. "That sounds like a good way to get a lot of people killed." "People are already dying," Mace counters. "Hosnian is gone. Entire star systems are under First Order occupation. How many more will die while we sit in this jungle and plan defensive operations?" The argument continues for hours. Leia wants to focus on protecting Resistance assets, building a coalition, avoiding direct confrontation until they're stronger. Mace argues they'll never be stronger if they keep letting the First Order dictate the pace of the war. They need to strike hard and fast, make the enemy afraid, show the galaxy that the Resistance can win. Finally, Leia holds up a hand. You want to prove your approach works? Fine. I'll give you a strike team. One operation. You succeed, we'll talk about expanding your role. You fail, you follow my orders. Deal. Mace extends his hand. She shakes it, her grip firm. Deal. But Master Windu, don't mistake my caution for weakness. I've been fighting this war since before you crawled out of whatever hole you were hiding in. I know what's at stake. He meets her eyes. So do I, General. That's why I'm here. Mace spends the next week assembling his team. The Resistance is undermanned and under-equipped. But there are skilled people here. Veterans of the rebellion, former Republic soldiers, pilots, commandos, Force sensitives who never received training. He handpicks 20 operatives, the best the Resistance can spare. The mission is simple in concept, brutal in execution. The First Order has a supply depot on Bothawui, a heavily fortified facility that feeds their fleets in 3 sectors. Take it out, and you disrupt their operations for months. Leia approved the target, but her tactical officer planned a long-term infiltration. Weeks of preparation, months of intelligence gathering. Mace throws that plan out. They don't have weeks. They have days before the First Order moves the supplies somewhere else. He briefs the team in a hangar bay, standing before a holographic projection of the depot. The facility has shields, anti-aircraft batteries, a full battalion of stormtroopers. Standard Imperial doctrine would call for a siege. Standard Resistance doctrine would call for sabotage and retreat. We're going to do neither. We're going to hit them fast, hit them hard, and be gone before they know what happened. One of his commandos, a scarred Quarren named Veko, raises a hand. How do we get through the shields? We don't, Mace replies. We go through the front door. He explains the plan. They'll use a captured First Order shuttle, approach under false credentials, and dock at the main hangar. Once inside, they split into 3 teams. Team 1 secures the hangar and prevents reinforcements. Team 2 plants charges on the primary power generator. Team 3, led by Mace, takes the command center and prevents any distress signals from getting out. When the charges blow, the shields drop. Resistance bombers come in and level the facility. Simple, brutal, effective. What about casualties? Another commando asks. Mace looks at her. There will be casualties. On both sides. The First Order has 600 personnel on that base. Most of them won't escape. We're not here to take prisoners or minimize collateral damage. We're here to hurt them so badly they think twice before their next atrocity. The room falls silent. This isn't the Resistance way. Leia fights to minimize casualties, to be better than the Empire ever was. But Mace isn't Leia, and he's not running this operation by her rules. Anyone who has a problem with that can leave now. No one moves. Good. We deploy at 0600. Get some rest. The insertion goes perfectly. The First Order shuttle, captured in a raid 3 months ago and modified by Resistance techs, transmits the correct codes. The depot's traffic control grants them clearance to land. They touch down in the main hangar, ramp lowering, and the strike team pours out. The stormtroopers on duty barely have time to raise their weapons before Mace is among them. His purple lightsaber ignites with its distinctive snap hiss, the blade moving in precise arcs. Vapad, the 7th form, a style that turns the enemy's aggression against them, that channels darkness without falling to it. The stormtroopers fire, but their blaster bolts are redirected back at them, their own weapons becoming the instruments of their death. In 30 seconds, the hangar is secure. Team 1 sets up defensive positions while Teams 2 and 3 move deeper into the facility. Mace leads his squad through corridors designed for efficiency rather than defense. The First Order never expected an attack this brazen. They're prepared for saboteurs and spies, not a full frontal assault. Alarms begin to wail as the depot's security catches on, but by then, it's too late. Mace's team reaches the command center, blasting through the doors with shaped charges. Officers scramble for weapons. Mace doesn't give them the chance. The force fills the room like a tidal wave, lifting consoles, hurling chairs, pinning soldiers against walls. His lightsaber is almost redundant. Almost. He cuts through the communications array, ensuring no signal reaches First Order command. Then he secures the room and waits. 2 minutes later, Team 2 confirms charges are set. Mace orders the evacuation. The strike team fights back to the hangar, stormtrooper reinforcements pouring in from barracks. The corridor becomes a killing ground, blaster fire ricocheting off walls, grenades turning corners into infernos. Mace moves through it, like a force of nature. His blade deflecting shots that would kill his team, his presence in the force guiding their movements. They reach the hangar with 40 seconds to spare. The shuttle lifts off as the charges detonate. The power generator explodes in a ball of plasma, the shields flickering and dying. Resistance bombers scream out of hyperspace and unleash their payloads. The depot becomes a fireball visible from orbit. On the flight back to Dakar, Mace counts the cost. 3 dead, 7 wounded. Acceptable losses. But as he looks at the bodies being prepared for burial, he wonders if the old him would have agreed. The Jedi Master who valued every life, who sought peaceful solutions whenever possible. That man died on Coruscant 30 years ago. The man who replaced him understands that war is about mathematics. 3 dead to save thousands, maybe millions, from First Order oppression. It's not a choice. It's necessity. When they land, Leia is waiting. She's seen the reports. The depot is gone. First Order supply lines in 3 sectors are crippled, and the cost was minimal. She looks at the bodies being carried off the shuttle. "I said you could prove your approach works," she says quietly. "I didn't expect you to prove it this well." Mace meets her gaze. "This is just the beginning, General. If you want to win this war, we need to hit them again and again, until they're too afraid to sleep at night." Over the next months, Mace leads operation after operation, each one more daring than the last. The second strike targets a First Order listening post on Kessel, a facility monitoring resistance communications across 5 sectors. Mace takes a smaller team this time, just 8 operatives, relying on speed and precision over overwhelming force. They infiltrate during a shift change, when security is at its weakest. The commandos move through the facility like ghosts, planting charges on power conduits and data cores. When the First Order realizes they're under attack, it's already too late. The explosives detonate in sequence, each blast calculated to cause maximum structural damage. The listening post collapses into the mines below, taking 300 personnel and decades of intelligence data with it. 0 resistance casualties. The third operation is different. A First Order shipyard in the Carino system, building the next generation of Star Destroyers. This time, Mace doesn't rely on stealth. He brings a full assault force, 3 frigates and 2 squadrons of fighters. The attack comes during the night cycle, when most of the shipyard crew is sleeping. Resistance bombers scream out of hyperspace and unleash their payloads on the docking clamps holding the half-constructed Star Destroyers. The ships, not yet equipped with shields or weapons, tear apart under the assault. Mace leads a boarding party onto the station itself, fighting through corridors as alarms wail and bulkheads seal. They reach the command center and broadcast a message to the entire First Order network. This is Mace Windu, Jedi Master. Your tyranny ends now. Every base you build, we will destroy. Every ship you launch, we will sink. Every world you oppress, we will liberate. You wanted war. Now you have it. The message spreads across the holonet like wildfire. Suddenly, the Resistance isn't a ragtag group of freedom fighters hiding in the shadows. They're a legitimate military threat. Recruitment surges. Planets that were afraid to openly support the Resistance now send supplies and intelligence. Cells activate across the galaxy, sabotaging First-Order operations, feeding information to Mace's strike teams. The momentum shifts. For the first time since Starkiller Base destroyed Hosnian Prime, the galaxy feels hope. The First Order can be hurt, can be stopped. And leading that charge is a Jedi who refuses to accept defeat. But success breeds complacency, and Mace knows it. He pushes his teams harder, demanding perfection in every operation. When a strike on Ord Mantell goes wrong and 2 Resistance soldiers die because of poor intelligence, Mace personally reviews the entire chain of command. He finds the leak, a double agent feeding information to the First Order, and executes him himself. Not with a lightsaber, with a blaster. Cold, clinical, efficient. Some of his people are disturbed by this. Leia confronts him about it in her office, her voice tight with anger. We're supposed to be better than them. Summary executions, that's what the Empire did, what the First Order does. Mace meets her gaze without flinching. That man got 2 of ours killed and compromised 3 operations. If I'd let him live, he'd have done it again. This isn't about being better, General. It's about surviving long enough to win. And winning requires hard choices. Their argument escalates. Leia accuses Mace of becoming the very thing he's fighting against, of letting the ends justify any means. Mace counters that her idealism is getting people killed, that the First Order won't be defeated with speeches and moral high ground. They're building something terrible out there, he says, his voice rising. Another superweapon, another fleet. And while we debate the ethics of killing traitors, they're preparing to burn entire star systems. I've seen this before, Leia. I watched the Republic fall because the Jedi were too passive, too afraid to act decisively. I won't make that mistake again. Leia's expression hardens. My brother died fighting for redemption, for the belief that even Darth Vader could be saved. And he was right. Luke saved our father, and together they destroyed the Emperor. That's the Jedi way, Mace. Not whatever this is. Mace's jaw clenches. And where is Luke now? Where's your father? Dead. Both of them. They won, yes, but at what cost? I respect their sacrifice, but I won't repeat it. This time, we're going to win and survive. The tension between them becomes a rift that divides the Resistance command structure. Some officers side with Leia, believing that aggressive tactics will alienate potential allies and turn the Resistance into another authoritarian force. Others side with Mace, arguing that conventional warfare isn't working and that bold action is necessary. The Resistance begins operating on 2 tracks. Leia's diplomatic corps works to build coalitions and secure funding, while Mace's strike teams hit First Order assets. It's an uneasy partnership, held together only by their shared enemy. But it's effective. Worlds join the Resistance, not just because they believe in freedom, but because they see results. Star systems pledge ships and soldiers, because Mace's operations prove the First Order can be beaten. The Resistance grows from a few thousand fighters to a legitimate military force, with bases on a dozen worlds and fleets patrolling contested systems. Supreme Leader Snoke watches these developments with growing concern. He summons Kylo Ren to his throne room aboard the Supremacy, his flagship. The hologram of Snoke looms over Kylo, distorted and terrible. "You have failed me, apprentice. This Jedi has destroyed 6 bases, killed thousands of our soldiers, and turned the Resistance into a credible threat. And yet you have done nothing." Kylo's fists clench at his sides. "I have been hunting him, Supreme Leader. But he's careful. Strikes and disappears before we can respond. He's fought in wars before we were born, learned tactics we've never encountered." "Excuses," Snoke hisses. "I sense fear in you. You're afraid of this old man, afraid he'll prove stronger than you." Kylo's voice is tight. "I fear nothing." "Then prove it. Find him, confront him, and bring me his corpse." Kylo begins his hunt in earnest. He studies every battle, every strike, looking for patterns. He interrogates survivors, torturing them for details about the Jedi who leads the attacks. He meditates in the dark side, reaching out through the Force to find any trace of Mace's presence. And slowly, he begins to piece together a profile. This Jedi is aggressive but disciplined, ruthless but not cruel. He fights like a soldier, not a mystic. And his lightsaber style, described by those who survived encounters with him, is something Kylo has only read about in ancient texts. Vapad, the 7th form, a style that channels darkness without falling to it. The realization sends a chill through Kylo. He knows who this is. Master Mace Windu, member of the old Jedi Council, the one who tried to kill Palpatine, the one who fell from the Senate building and was presumed dead. But he didn't die. He survived. And now he's come back to haunt them. Kylo brings this information to Snoke, expecting praise for his detective work. Instead, Snoke's reaction is fury. Mace Windu, alive, after all these years. This is worse than I thought, much worse. Kylo is confused. Supreme Leader, he's just one man. Powerful, yes, but alone. We have armies, fleets. You don't understand, Snoke says, his voice dripping with venom. Mace Windu was one of the greatest warriors the Jedi ever produced, a master of combat and strategy. And unlike most Jedi, he understood the dark side, wielded it as a weapon without succumbing to it. That makes him more dangerous than a dozen conventional Jedi. If he's training others in his methods, teaching them to fight as he fights, we'll face an enemy unlike anything we've prepared for. Then I'll destroy him before he can, Kylo insists. Snoke's hologram leans closer. You will try. But apprentice, do not underestimate him. Mace Windu has survived for 70 years by being smarter and stronger than his enemies. If you face him unprepared, he will kill you. Kylo leaves the throne room, his mind racing. Part of him wants to prove Snoke wrong, to hunt down Mace and defeat him in single combat. But another part, the part that's still Ben Solo, beneath the mask, remembers the stories his uncle told. Stories of the Jedi Council, of Master Windu's legendary skill, of how he alone stood against Palpatine and nearly won. That man is out there now, leading the Resistance, turning them into a force capable of challenging the First Order. And Kylo has to stop him. He increases patrols around key First Order assets, sets traps, spreads misinformation to lure Mace into an ambush. But Mace is too experienced to fall for such tricks. He continues his campaign, striking where the First Order is weakest, avoiding pitched battles he can't win. Each victory emboldens the Resistance. Each defeat humiliates the First Order. The balance of power begins to shift. Meanwhile, Mace identifies the Force sensitives among the Resistance and begins their training in earnest. He doesn't ask permission, doesn't form a council or seek approval. He simply gathers them and starts teaching. There are 12 in total, ranging in age from 16 to 40. Some have known about their abilities for years, but never received training. Others are just discovering their connection to the Force. Mace evaluates each one, testing their discipline, their commitment, their capacity for violence. Because that's what he's training them for. Not to be peacekeepers or diplomats, to be warriors, weapons against the darkness. He takes them to an abandoned Republic training facility on Dantooine, a world far from the front lines. The facility is overgrown, crumbling, but the basic infrastructure remains. Training rooms, obstacle courses, meditation chambers. Mace has his people repair what's necessary and leave the rest. They don't need luxury. They need focus. The training begins at dawn and doesn't end until midnight. Physical conditioning, lightsaber forms, force techniques, tactical planning. Mace drives them harder than they've ever been driven, pushing them past their limits and then demanding more. When Kes collapses during a training bout, exhausted and bruised, Mace doesn't let her rest. He pulls her to her feet and makes her continue. "The First Order won't stop because you're tired," he says coldly. "They'll kill you while you're catching your breath. So get up and fight." She does. They all do. Because they see what Mace is offering them. Power, purpose, the ability to make a real difference. And they're willing to suffer for it. But Mace doesn't just teach them how to fight. He teaches them why. Each evening, after the physical training is done, he gathers them and talks about the galaxy, about the Republic's failures, the Jedi's blindness, the price of passivity. He tells them about Anakin Skywalker, the chosen one who fell because the Jedi didn't understand him, about the Clone Wars, where the Jedi became generals and lost their way, about Order 66, when their own soldiers turned on them. "This is what happens when you trust in systems," he says. "When you believe that laws and traditions will protect you. The galaxy doesn't care about your ideals. It cares about power. And if you're not willing to use power, someone else will use it against you." Theron raises his hand during one of these sessions. "Master, if the Jedi failed because they were too passive, and the Sith failed because they were too aggressive, what are we supposed to be?" Mace considers the question. "We're going to be balanced, not rejecting emotion like the old Jedi, but not being controlled by it like the Sith. We'll use our anger when it's appropriate, our fear when it keeps us sharp, but we'll always, always maintain control. The dark side is a tool, a dangerous one, yes, but a tool nonetheless. And with proper training, you can wield it without being consumed." He demonstrates by channeling the dark side himself, letting his eyes briefly flash yellow before returning to normal. The students watch in awe and fear. "Can you teach us that?" Kes asks. Mace nods. "I can, but it requires absolute discipline. One moment of weakness, one slip, and you'll fall. Are you willing to take that risk?" They all nod. "Yes, Master." The training intensifies. Mace teaches them Vapad, the form he created, which turns an opponent's aggression into fuel for the user. It's dangerous, especially for those not fully trained in controlling their emotions. 2 of the students can't handle it, and Mace removes them from the program, sending them back to the main resistance force. The remaining 10 continue. They practice against each other, against training droids, against Mace himself. And slowly, they improve. Kes develops a unique variant of Vapad that incorporates acrobatic elements, making her unpredictable in combat. Theron, who dual wields lightsabers, learns to create a defensive barrier that few can penetrate. The others find their own strengths, their own styles. And Mace watches them grow with something approaching pride. Not the detached approval of a Jedi master, but the fierce satisfaction of a general seeing his soldiers become warriors, But their training is interrupted by news from the front. The First Order has tracked one of Mace's supply convoys and destroyed it, killing 50 resistance personnel. It's a harsh reminder that while they train, the war continues. Mace gathers his students. Your training isn't complete, but it's going to have to be enough. We're going back to the fight. They leave Dantooine and rejoin the Resistance fleet. Leia is waiting for them, her expression troubled. We need to talk about what you're doing with these Force users. Mace keeps his voice neutral. I'm training them, making them ready for what's coming. You're turning them into something the Jedi would never have approved of, Leia says. I've felt their presence in the Force. They're walking a dangerous line. So did I for 70 years, Mace replies. And I'm still standing. They'll be fine. But Leia isn't convinced. She arranges for Rey to meet with Mace's students, hoping Luke's final apprentice can provide a counterbalance to Mace's teachings. Rey is young, idealistic, still believing in the Jedi principles Luke taught her. She tries to connect with the students, to show them a different path. But they've already drunk from Mace's well, already tasted the power he's offering. When Rey warns them about the dangers of the dark side, Kes politely but firmly disagrees. Master Windu has shown us that the dark side isn't inherently evil. It's just another aspect of the Force. Rejecting it means rejecting half of what we are. Rey's expression is pained. That's what Ben Solo thought. And look what happened to him. But we're not Ben Solo, Theron says. We have discipline, control, and we have Master Windu to guide us. Rey leaves the meeting frustrated and concerned. She reports back to Leia. They're being radicalized, turned into something dangerous. If this continues, they could fall to the dark side and become worse than Kylo Ren. Leia listens but doesn't act. She's seen the results of Mace's methods, the victories, the momentum. And she's pragmatic enough to know they need every advantage they can get. The philosophical divide between Rey and Mace's students becomes a subplot that threatens to fracture the entire Resistance. Rey represents Luke's vision of the Jedi, centered on redemption, compassion, and light. She believes that the dark side, in any form, is inherently corrupting, that using it, even with control, inevitably leads to fall. Her arguments are compelling, rooted in history. Anakin Skywalker touched the dark side and became Darth Vader. Dooku fell. Countless Jedi throughout history tried to walk the line and failed. Why should Mace's students be any different? She takes her concerns to Leia directly, meeting in the General's private office aboard the command ship. This isn't just a philosophical disagreement, she says, pacing. It's dangerous. Mace is teaching them techniques that led to the fall of the Jedi, techniques that could turn them into the next generation of Sith. Leia listens but doesn't immediately agree. I've seen what his students can do. The results speak for themselves. But at what cost? Rey presses. Today they're fighting for us. But what happens when the war ends? When there's no clear enemy? Will they use their power responsibly? Or will they become tyrants, convinced they know what's best for the galaxy? Leia considers this. You sound like the old Jedi Council, afraid of what might happen instead of dealing with what is. Rey's expression hardens. The Council had good reason to be afraid. They saw Jedi fall to the dark side, saw the damage it caused. I'm not being paranoid, General. I'm being realistic. Mace Windu is playing with fire, and eventually, someone's going to get burned. Leia stands and walks to the viewport, looking out at the stars. My brother believed in redemption, believed our father could turn back from the dark side. Everyone told him it was impossible, that Vader was too far gone. But Luke was right. He saved Anakin. And Anakin saved him. She turns back to Rey. Maybe there's more than one way to be a Jedi. Maybe the old order was too rigid, too afraid. And maybe that fear contributed to their downfall. Rey wants to argue but can't find the words. She leaves the meeting frustrated and determined to keep watch over Mace's students. If any of them show signs of falling, she'll intervene. Has to intervene, because she remembers what happened to Ben Solo. Remembers finding Luke's temple in ruins, his students dead. She won't let that happen again. Meanwhile, the operations continue to mount. Each strike is more audacious than the last. Mace identifies a pattern in First Order communications, a relay station on Jakku that coordinates fleet movements across 3 sectors. Take it out, and you blind the First Order in a significant portion of the galaxy. But Jakku is heavily fortified, and the relay station is buried deep underground. A conventional assault would require months of preparation and thousands of troops. Mace proposes something different, a surgical strike. 5 people, his best students, in and out before the First Order knows they're there. Leia is skeptical. 5 people against a fortified installation. That's suicide. It's asymmetric warfare, Mace counters. The First Order expects conventional tactics, expects us to bring overwhelming force. We do the opposite. Strike fast, strike hard, disappear before they can respond. Leia reluctantly approves the mission, and Mace selects his team. Kes, Theron, and 3 others, all trained in stealth and infiltration. They spend a week preparing, studying the facility's layout, memorizing guard rotations, planning contingencies. When they deploy, it's at night during a sandstorm that blinds sensors and patrols. The infiltration is textbook perfect. They enter through a ventilation shaft, bypass security systems with forced techniques and sliced codes, and make their way to the relay station's central hub. The First Order guards never see them coming. Lightsabers ignite in the darkness. The brief fight is over in seconds. The guards dead before they can raise an alarm. Mace's team plants shaped charges on the communication arrays and central processors. Then they retreat the way they came, climbing back through the ventilation system as the facility goes on alert. They're a kilometer away when the charges detonate, destroying the relay station and disrupting First Order communications across 3 sectors. The mission is a complete success. 0 casualties, maximum impact. Leia watches the after-action report with grudging admiration. "You were right," she admits to Mace during the debrief. "I didn't think it could be done." Mace nods. Conventional thinking is how the Republic lost to the Empire. We can't afford to be conventional. We need to be unpredictable, creative, willing to take risks the First Order doesn't expect. But not every operation goes smoothly. The 7th strike targets a First Order weapons depot on Korriban, a world steeped in dark side history. The facility is built on an ancient Sith temple, drawing power from the dark side nexus beneath. Mace leads this mission personally, bringing all 10 of his students and a company of resistance commandos. The approach goes according to plan. They land under cover of darkness and advance on the depot. But the moment they enter the facility, something feels wrong. The dark side is overwhelming here, pressing against their minds, whispering temptations and fears. Mace's students, trained to resist such influences, push forward. But the commandos are unprepared. One by one, they begin to falter, seeing things that aren't there, hearing voices, turning on each other. Mace realizes the mistake too late. He should never have brought non-Force users to this place. The dark side nexus is too strong. He orders an immediate evacuation, but the First Order has detected their presence and is closing in. The retreat becomes a fighting withdrawal. Mace and his students holding off waves of stormtroopers while trying to protect the panicking commandos. They make it back to the transports, but not before losing 8 people. 8 soldiers who went mad from dark side exposure and had to be restrained, who will never fully recover from what they experienced. The mission is technically a success. The weapons depot is destroyed, but the cost is too high. Mace sits in the transport on the flight back, surrounded by traumatized soldiers, and questions everything. He pushed too hard, went too far, let his confidence override his judgment. When they return to the Resistance base, Leia is waiting. She doesn't say anything, doesn't have to. The look in her eyes says it all. 8 people broken. For what? To destroy one weapons depot. Mace wants to argue, to explain that war has casualties, that sometimes sacrifices are necessary. But he can't, because this wasn't necessary. This was pride, arrogance, the belief that his way was the only way. He excuses himself and meditates for 3 days straight, wrestling with doubt and guilt. When he emerges, he's changed. More cautious, more willing to listen, less certain of his own infallibility. The incident on Korriban becomes a turning point. Mace begins consulting with his students more, treating them as equals rather than subordinates. They plan operations together, debate tactics, challenge each other's assumptions. The dynamic shifts from master and disciples to a council of warriors, each bringing their own perspective and expertise. Kes proves particularly insightful about civilian protection, always advocating for minimizing collateral damage. Theron excels at logistics, ensuring supplies and equipment are pre-positioned for rapid deployment. The others contribute in their own ways, and the operations become more refined, more effective. The victories pile up, but so do the questions. How far should they push? How many lives are they willing to spend to win? And what kind of Jedi Order will emerge from this crucible of war? The training continues in parallel with the operations. Mace doesn't just teach combat. He teaches philosophy, ethics, history. He wants his students to understand why the old Jedi Order failed, how the Sith exploited their weaknesses, what mistakes must never be repeated. One evening, after a particularly grueling training session, Kes asks the question that's been on everyone's mind. Master, what happens after the war? Assuming we win, what becomes of us? Mace considers this carefully. That's your choice. Some of you might want to join Rey's Jedi, learn a different path. Others might continue as warriors, protecting the Republic from new threats. And some might walk away entirely, live normal lives. The Force gave you power, but it doesn't define who you must be. You get to decide. Theron frowns, but you trained us to fight, to use the dark side. Rey's Jedi won't accept that, won't accept us. Then you'll forge your own path, Mace says. The galaxy is big enough for multiple interpretations of what it means to be a Force user. You don't need anyone's permission to exist. The students absorb this, and the conversation shifts to deeper topics. What is the Force, really? Is there truly a light and dark side? Or is that just how organic beings perceive it? Can power be wielded responsibly without the strict codes of the Jedi or Sith? These discussions go late into the night, and Mace finds himself learning as much as teaching. His students challenge assumptions he's held for decades, forcing him to examine beliefs he took for granted. It's uncomfortable but necessary. Growth requires discomfort. During one meditation session, Mace experiences a vision. It's not clear or prophetic like some Force visions, more like a warning. He sees darkness rising, not the First Order, Something older, more terrible. A threat that's been building in secret, waiting for its moment. When he emerges from the meditation, he knows. Palpatine. Somehow, impossibly, Palpatine isn't finished. The realization chills him. If the Emperor survived Endor, if he's been orchestrating events from the shadows, then the First Order is just the opening move in a much larger game. Mace brings this to Leia, explaining what he saw. She listens but is skeptical. Luke and our father destroyed Palpatine. We all felt it in the Force. How could he survive? The dark side has techniques, Mace says slowly. Ways to cheat death. Palpatine was the most powerful Sith Lord in history. If anyone could find a way to return, it would be him. Leia's expression darkens. Then we need proof, evidence. We can't mobilize the resistance based on a vision. Mace nods. Agreed. But we should start looking, researching. If Palpatine is alive, he'll have left traces. And if he's building something like the First Order, there will be patterns. Supply chains, communications. We find those. We find him. The investigation begins, quietly. Mace assigns trusted operatives to dig through First Order intelligence, looking for connections to Palpatine or the old Empire. It's slow work, complicated by the need for secrecy. If the First Order realizes what they're looking for, they'll cover their tracks. Months pass with little progress. Then, a breakthrough. A resistance spy embedded in the First Order bureaucracy reports rumors of a fleet. Not just any fleet. Thousands of star destroyers hidden somewhere in the unknown regions, built in secret over decades. And the person overseeing construction, according to whispered reports, is someone who claims to be the Emperor returned. The news electrifies Mace. He brings it to Leia and the Command Council. This is it. Confirmation that Palpatine survived, that he's been planning his return, that the First Order is just the vanguard for something much worse. The Council debates what to do. Some want to strike immediately. Others argue for gathering more intelligence. Leia proposes sending a reconnaissance mission to verify the reports and locate the fleet. Poe Dameron volunteers to lead it, and after weeks of searching, following fragmentary clues and dangerous hyperspace routes, he finds it. Exegol, a hidden Sith world, home to the largest fleet the galaxy has ever seen. And at the center, a citadel where dark side energy concentrates like a cancer. Poe barely escapes with his life, bringing back sensor data that confirms everyone's worst fears. The Sith Eternal Fleet is real, and it's almost ready to deploy. The Resistance mobilizes immediately. Every asset is called in, every ally contacted. Lando Calrissian broadcasts a message to the entire galaxy, calling for anyone who can fight to join them. To everyone's surprise, they answer. Thousands of ships from hundreds of worlds. It's not enough to match the Sith fleet in raw numbers, but it's enough to give them a chance. The fleet begins assembling at a rendezvous point. Crews training, pilots running simulations, soldiers preparing for the fight of their lives. Mace oversees the strike team's final preparations. His students are ready. They've trained for this, fought for this. But he can see the fear in their eyes, the understanding that many of them might not survive. He gathers them the night before the assault and speaks plainly. What we're about to do is the most dangerous mission any of us will ever face. There's a strong possibility we won't come back. If anyone wants to withdraw, now's the time. No shame in it, no judgment. They look at each other, then at him. No one moves. Kes speaks for all of them. We're with you, Master. To the end. Whatever it takes. Mace feels pride and sorrow in equal measure. These young people, some barely out of their teens, ready to die for a galaxy that doesn't even know they exist. It's heroic and tragic and everything the Jedi should have been. He nods. Then let's make sure their sacrifice means something. Let's end the Sith. Forever. Mace's next operation targets a First-Order communications hub on Carida. This facility coordinates fleet movements across 12 sectors, making it a critical node in their command structure. Take it out, and you blind the First Order across a quarter of the galaxy. But it's also heavily defended, with 3 Star Destroyers in orbit and a full legion of stormtroopers on the ground. Leia argues against the attack. It's too risky. We'll lose too many people. But Mace is insistent. If we hit this target, we cripple their ability to respond to our operations for weeks, maybe months. That's worth the risk. They compromise. Mace will lead the ground assault with his students and a strike team. The Resistance fleet will engage the Star Destroyers, drawing them away from the planet. It's a coordinated operation requiring perfect timing, and it almost works. The fleet jumps into the Carida system and immediately engages the Star Destroyers. Poe Dameron leads the fighter squadrons, weaving through turbo-laser fire, targeting shield generators and weapons systems. The capital ships trade broadsides, shields flaring, hulls buckling under the onslaught. It's brutal and chaotic, but it gives Mace the opening he needs. His transport, carrying 50 commandos and all 10 of his students, slips past the battle and enters the atmosphere. They land 5 kilometers from the communications hub and begin their approach on foot. The terrain is rocky and barren, offering little cover, but Mace uses the Force to cloak their presence, making them almost invisible to scanners. They reach the perimeter of the facility and split into teams. Mace and 5 students will assault the main building. The commandos will secure the perimeter and prevent reinforcements. The remaining students will plant charges on the facility's power core. The assault begins with a diversionary explosion on the far side of the compound. Stormtroopers rush to investigate, thinning the defenses around the main building. Mace's team slips through the chaos, cutting through the few guards who remain. They enter the building and begin fighting their way up. The corridors are narrow, designed to funnel attackers into kill zones. But Mace has fought in places like this before. He uses the Force to sense enemies before they appear, guiding his students around ambushes, predicting enemy movements. Their lightsabers flash in the confined spaces, blaster bolts ricocheting off walls. It's close, brutal combat. One of his students, a young Zabrak named Orin, takes a blaster shot to the shoulder and goes down. Mace pulls him to cover and continues the assault, trusting the others to protect their wounded. They reach the command center on the top floor and find it fortified. Blast doors, shield generators, automated turrets. This isn't a facility designed to fall easily. Mace studies the defenses and formulates a plan. Kess, you're the fastest. Draw their fire. Theron, with me. We'll breach the door while they're distracted. On my mark. Kess nods and steps into the corridor. The turrets immediately track her movement and open fire. She moves like water, her lightsaber a blur, deflecting bolts back at the turrets. One explodes, then another. But the third adjusts its aim, predicting her movements. A bolt grazes her leg and she stumbles. That's when Mace and Theron strike. Mace channels the Force into a concentrated push that buckles the blast door inward. Theron follows through the opening, his twin blades carving through the guards inside. The command center falls in less than a minute. Mace secures the room and signals the other teams. Charges are set. Begin evacuation. But then everything goes wrong. The First Order reinforcements arrive faster than anticipated. Not just ground troops, but TIE fighters. And leading them is a shuttle carrying Kylo Ren. He's been tracking Mace's operations, waiting for the right moment to strike. And this is it. Kylo's shuttle lands outside the facility, and he strides out, his crossguard lightsaber ignited, flanked by a squad of elite stormtroopers. Mace feels his presence in the Force and knows immediately who it is. Ben Solo, turned to the dark side, destroyer of Luke's academy, and now his opponent. Mace orders his students to evacuate. Get out. Get to the transports. I'll handle this. Master, we're not leaving you, Kes protests. That's an order, Mace says, his voice brooking no argument. If something happens to me, you'll lead them. Now go. They hesitate, then obey. Mace watches them disappear down the corridor, then turns to face the entrance. Kylo Ren is coming, and this time there's nowhere to run. Kylo enters the facility, his presence radiating dark side energy. Stormtroopers follow him, but he waves them back. This is personal. He wants to face this ghost from the past alone. He ascends through the building, following the trail of destruction Mace left behind. Bodies, scorched walls, the aftermath of a Jedi who fights like a warrior, not a monk. Kylo admires it in a way. This is what the old order should have been, what Luke should have taught him. Power without apology, strength without restraint. He reaches the command center and finds Mace waiting, standing in the center of the room, his purple lightsaber deactivated but ready. For a long moment, they simply study each other. Kylo sees an old man, scarred and weathered, with a cybernetic arm and eyes that have seen too much. Mace sees a young man drowning in darkness, torn between what he was and what he's trying to become. "You're Mace Windu," Kylo says, his voice distorted by the mask. "The one who tried to kill Palpatine. The one who should be dead." Mace's expression doesn't change. "I could say the same about you, Ben Solo. Your mother mourns what you've become." "Don't call me that," Kylo snarls. Ben Solo was weak. I destroyed him. "No," Mace says calmly. "You're still him? Still that scared boy who fell to the dark side because he thought it would. Make him strong. But all it's made you is alone." Kylo ignites his lightsaber, the unstable blade crackling with barely controlled energy. "You don't know anything about me, old man. You're a relic of a failed order, a ghost who should have stayed dead." "Maybe," Mace says, igniting his own blade. "But this ghost is about to teach you what a real Jedi can do." Kylo charges, his rage fueling his attack. His lightsaber swings in broad, powerful arcs, each strike intended to overwhelm through sheer force. But Mace doesn't meet power with power. He sidesteps, deflects, redirects. Vayapad in its purest form. Every ounce of Kylo's aggression becomes fuel for Mace's counterattack. Their blades clash, purple and red, sparking in the dim light of the command center. Kylo presses forward, trying to use his size and strength advantage. But Mace has fought opponents like this before. Stronger, faster, more skilled. He reads Kylo's patterns, predicts his movements, and exploits every opening. A quick slash across the arm, a kick to the knee, a forced push that sends Kylo stumbling. Each strike is precise, calculated to wound, but not kill. Not yet. Kylo feels his frustration building. He's fought Jedi before, killed Luke's students. But this is different. This old man isn't afraid, isn't hesitant. He fights with the efficiency of a soldier and the power of a master. It's infuriating. Kylo channels his anger, letting it fuel him, and launches a new assault. This time, he mixes lightsaber strikes with force attacks, telekinesis hurling debris, lightning crackling from his fingertips, waves of dark side energy meant to disorient and overwhelm. Mace weaves through it all, his connection to the Force guiding his movements. He catches the debris with his own telekinesis and hurls it back. He absorbs the lightning into his lightsaber blade. He stands firm against the dark side waves, his own presence in the Force like a fortress. And all the while, he advances, step by step, forcing Kylo to give ground. "You're strong," Mace says between exchanges, "stronger than most. But you lack discipline. You fight with your emotions instead of through them. That's the difference between power and control." Kylo roars and channels everything he has into one massive force push. The entire command center shakes. Consoles tear free from the floor. The walls crack. Mace is thrown back, crashing through a doorway into an adjacent room. Kylo follows, breathing hard, his mask fogging. For a moment, he thinks he's won. Then Mace rises from the rubble, dusting himself off. His lightsaber reignites. "Is that your best?" he asks calmly. "Because if it is, this is going to be disappointing." The insult cuts deeper than any blade. Kylo screams and charges again. Their duel intensifies, moving through the facility as they exchange blows. They fight down corridors, through offices, across catwalks. The building shakes under the strain of their battle. Outside, the commandos have loaded the wounded onto transports and are beginning evacuation. Kes watches the facility, torn between her orders to leave and her desire to help her master. Theron puts a hand on her shoulder. "He said to go. We have to trust him." She nods reluctantly and boards the transport. They lift off just as the facility's power core, rigged with charges, begins its countdown. 3 minutes until detonation. Inside, Mace and Kylo continue their battle, oblivious to the ticking clock. Or perhaps not oblivious. Perhaps both of them know and neither cares. This duel has become about more than just tactics or strategy. It's about legacy. About what it means to be a Force user in a galaxy torn apart by war. Kylo unleashes another barrage of strikes, his technique devolving into pure aggression. He's fighting with everything he has, every ounce of power the dark side grants him. But it's not enough. Mace reads him perfectly, Vaped turning Kylo's own strength against him. Every attack is parried, every Force technique is countered. And slowly, inevitably, Kylo is driven back. His breathing becomes labored, his strikes less precise. He's tiring. Mace is not. Decades of discipline, of mastering his body and the Force, give him reserves Kylo cannot match. "You're losing," Mace says, his voice still calm, and you know it. "Surrender, Ben. This doesn't have to end with your death." "Never," Kylo gasps. "I'd rather die than submit to you." "That can be arranged," Mace replies. "But I'm offering you a choice, the same choice I should have offered your grandfather. Redemption." The words hit Kylo like a physical blow. Redemption. The concept that haunted Darth Vader, that Luke Skywalker died believing in. The idea that even the darkest soul can turn back to the light. Kylo's lightsaber wavers. For just a moment, the mask cracks. Not literally, but metaphorically. Mace sees the conflict in him. The boy who was Ben Solo, Luke's nephew, Leia's son, struggling against the monster he's trying to become. This is Mace's mistake with Anakin all over again. A young man standing at a crossroads, one path leading to damnation, the other to salvation. Last time, Mace chose the aggressive path. Tried to kill Anakin's master, drove him further into darkness. This time, he chooses differently. He deactivates his lightsaber. "I'm not your enemy, Ben. The First Order is. Snoke is. They've used you, twisted you into a weapon. But you can still come back. Your mother still believes in you. So do I." Kylo stands frozen, his lightsaber still active, but not attacking. He wants to believe, wants to think that redemption is possible. But then he hears Snoke's voice in his mind, a whisper carried through the Force. He's lying, trying to weaken you. Kill him. Prove your strength. The dark side surges, drowning out doubt, filling Kylo with renewed purpose. He raises his lightsaber for a killing blow, and that's when the facility explodes. The power cord detonates, a chain reaction that tears through the building. The floor, beneath them disintegrates. Both Mace and Kylo are thrown into freefall, surrounded by fire and debris. Mace reaches out with the Force, grabbing onto a piece of falling structure, slowing his descent. He looks for Kylo and sees him doing the same, using the Force to navigate the chaos. Their eyes meet across the destruction. Then Kylo Force pulls himself away, disappearing into the smoke and flames. Mace doesn't pursue. The building is collapsing. He needs to escape. He uses the Force to slow his fall further, landing hard on the ground outside. His transport is gone, evacuated with the others. But another one, piloted by Resistance commandos, who refuse to leave without him, swoops in. He leaps aboard as the facility collapses completely, a pillar of fire reaching into the sky. On the flight back to the fleet, Mace sits in silence, replaying the duel in his mind. He came close to turning Kylo. He saw it, felt it in the Force. But Snoke's hold was too strong. Or perhaps Kylo's own fear was. Fear of being weak, of being Ben Solo again, the boy who failed, who disappointed everyone. That fear drives him to the dark side more than any ambition or hunger for power. And until that fear is confronted, Kylo Ren will remain lost. Mace closes his eyes and meditates on this. There will be another confrontation. He's certain of it. And next time, he needs to be ready. Not just to fight, but to save. Because despite everything, Mace still believes in the Jedi principle he once abandoned. That everyone deserves a chance at redemption. Even those who've fallen furthest into darkness. But Kylo is right to be concerned. Mace isn't just fighting, he's building. Among the Resistance are Force sensitives. People with potential who never received training because Luke's order was destroyed. Mace begins instructing them, not in the old Jedi way. He doesn't preach detachment or meditation. He teaches them to use their emotions, to channel fear into focus, anger into strength, passion into power, but always with control. The dark side is a tool, he tells them. Like any tool, it can be used or misused. The Jedi feared it because they didn't understand it. But I've walked that line for 70 years, and I can teach you to do the same. One of his students is a young woman named Kess, a former scavenger from Jakku with raw, untrained power. Another is Theron, a Twi'lek who survived the destruction of his homeworld and burns with the need for vengeance. There are others, 10 in total. Not enough to rebuild the Jedi Order, but enough to make a difference. He trains them in lightsaber combat, teaching forms the modern Jedi never knew. Vapad, Juyo, aggressive styles that turn emotion into weapon. He also trains them in tactics, strategy, how to think like a soldier, not a mystic. The Jedi failed because they forgot they were warriors, he says during one session. They became philosophers, diplomats, and when war came, they were slaughtered. You will not make that mistake. Kess watches him with sharp eyes. You're teaching us to be weapons. Is that all we are? Mace considers the question. No, you're people, with hopes and fears and dreams. But right now, the galaxy needs weapons. Needs people willing to stand between the innocent and those who would destroy them. After the war, you can choose what you become. But first, we have to survive the war. The training continues. Leia watches this development with concern. She meets with Mace in private, in her quarters away from the command center. You're training them to use the dark side, she says without preamble. That's a dangerous path. I'm training them to survive, Mace counters. The First Order has Knights of Ren. Snoke himself is a dark side user. We need people who can counter that threat. Luke tried to rebuild the Jedi the old way, and Kylo Ren destroyed it. We can't make the same mistake. Leia shakes her head. My brother believed in redemption. In finding the light even in the darkest places, he saved our father from the dark side. And look what it cost him, Mace says quietly. Luke gave everything to redeem Anakin, and Anakin died anyway. Then Ben Solo fell, and Luke's entire order was destroyed. I respect your brother, Leia, but his way didn't work. We need something different. What if your students fall? Leia asks. What if they become the very thing we're fighting against? Then I'll stop them, Mace says simply. The same way I'd stop anyone who threatens the innocent. But I don't believe they'll fall. Because I'm not teaching them to run from their emotions. I'm teaching them to master them. The Jedi fell because they denied half of what it means to be alive. These students will be whole. Leia studies him for a long moment. You're gambling with their souls. And you're gambling with the entire galaxy by being cautious, Mace replies. How many more star systems will the First Order destroy while we debate philosophy? How many more people will die? She doesn't have an answer for that. The conversation ends in tense silence. But despite their disagreements, the resistance grows stronger. Mace's aggressive tactics deliver victories that boost morale and recruitment. Leia's diplomatic efforts bring in supplies and intelligence. Together, they're more effective than either could be alone. Worlds begin to rally behind them. The First Order's grip on the galaxy weakens. Then comes the intelligence that changes everything. A resistance spy embedded in the First Order military reports the existence of a massive fleet. Thousands of star destroyers, hidden on a world called Exegol. Built by Palpatine loyalists over decades. Each ship armed with planet-killing weapons. And leading them is someone claiming to be Palpatine himself, returned from death. The news hits the resistance like a bomb. Leia goes pale when she hears the report. Palpatine, alive, after everything we sacrificed. Mace feels something dark and cold settle in his chest. He's been fighting the Emperor's legacy for 30 years. The thought that Palpatine himself might have survived, might be the architect of all this suffering, fills him with a rage he hasn't felt since Coruscant. If it's true, he says slowly, then we end him. Permanently this time. Leia looks at him. You tried that once before. So did Luke, and he died doing it. What makes you think we can succeed now? Because this time, Mace says, I won't hesitate. I won't offer redemption or mercy. I'll cut him down and make sure he stays dead. The certainty in his voice is absolute. The resistance scrambles to verify the intelligence. Poe Dameron leads a reconnaissance mission to Exegol, navigating the treacherous hyperspace routes to reach the hidden Sith world. What he finds confirms their worst fears. A fleet beyond counting. Star destroyers filling the skies. And at the center of it all, a citadel where dark side energy pulses like a malignant heart. He barely escapes with his life, jumping to hyperspace as Sith fighters swarm after him. When he returns to Dakar, his report is grim. It's real, all of it, and they're almost ready to deploy. Once that fleet launches, the galaxy is finished. Mace listens to the briefing in silence. Then he speaks. We hit them before they can launch. Bring everything we have, every ship, every soldier, every Force user. We end this now. The command center erupts in argument. Admirals and generals point out the insanity of the plan. They're outnumbered 1,000 to 1. The Exegol fleet hasn't deployed yet because they're still being crewed and supplied. But even half-ready, those Star Destroyers will annihilate the Resistance. It's suicide. Mace cuts through the noise. You're right. It's suicide. If we fight them in open space. But we're not going to do that. We're going to destroy the fleet before it launches. He brings up a schematic of Exegol, data pulled from Poe's scans. The Star Destroyers are drawing power from the Citadel, a massive dark side nexus that's been charging for decades. Take out the Citadel, and the fleet loses power. They'll be dead in space. How do we take out something that big? One of the admirals asks. We don't, Mace says. I do. The plan is audacious to the point of madness. The Resistance fleet will jump to Exegol and engage the Sith fighters and any operational Star Destroyers. They'll provide cover while a strike team, led by Mace and his students, infiltrates the Citadel. Inside, they'll find Palpatine and kill him. Destroying the Nexus should trigger a chain reaction that cripples the fleet. It's a one-way mission. Even if they succeed, escaping the Citadel while it's collapsing will be nearly impossible. Mace knows this. His students know this. They volunteer anyway. Leia pulls him aside before the briefing ends. This is a death mission. You know that. Mace nods. I've been living on borrowed time for 30 years, General. If this is where it ends, I can think of worse ways to go. She looks at him for a long moment, then embraces him. May the Force be with you, Master Windu. And with you, General Organa. Preparation takes 3 days. The Resistance mobilizes every asset. Lando Calrissian puts out a call to the entire galaxy, rallying anyone willing to fight. To everyone's surprise, they answer. Thousands of ships from 100 worlds converge on the rendezvous point. Smugglers, traders, planetary defense forces. Even a few former Imperial officers who see the First Order as a perversion of everything the Empire stood for. It's not enough to match the Sith fleet in raw firepower, but it's enough to give them a chance. Mace spends the time in meditation, preparing himself mentally and physically for what's coming. His students do the same, though he can feel their fear in the Force. He gathers them the night before the assault. You're afraid, he says. Good. Fear keeps you sharp. But don't let it control you. Channel it. Use it. And remember, we're not fighting for ourselves. We're fighting for everyone who can't. Everyone the First Order would crush. Give them hope. Give them a future. And if we die doing it, we die as Jedi. The fleet jumps to Exegol in perfect synchronization. Thousands of ships emerging from hyperspace into the heart of darkness. The Sith Eternal Fleet fills the void. Star Destroyers stretching to the horizon in every direction. Each ship is a dagger pointed at the heart of the galaxy, armed with planet-killing weapons, crewed by fanatics loyal to Palpatine's vision. Red lightning arcs between the vessels. The dark side made manifest, a storm of malevolent energy that makes even hardened Resistance pilots flinch. This is it. The final battle. Victory here means survival for the galaxy. Defeat means extinction. There is no middle ground. Leia's voice crackles over the comms from the command ship. All wings. Engage at will. May the Force be with us all. The space battle erupts with apocalyptic fury. Resistance starfighters scream forward, weaving through the forest of Star Destroyers, targeting weapon systems and shield generators. Sith fighters launch in response, thousands of red-streaked ties that fill the void like angry insects. The two swarms collide in a maelstrom of laser fire and explosions. Poe Dameron leads Black Squadron through the chaos, his piloting skills legendary, his intuition sharp. He dodges turbo laser fire that would vaporize his X-Wing, rolls through debris fields, targets Sith fighters with precision shots. Behind him, his squadron follows. Trusting his lead, they make for a Star Destroyer's bridge, unleashing torpedoes that penetrate the shields and detonate inside. The bridge explodes, the destroyer listing dead in space. One down, 1,000 more to go. Capital ships engage at closer range. Resistance frigates and cruisers trade broadsides with the massive Sith destroyers, shields flaring under the onslaught. The Mon Calamari cruiser Liberty takes a direct hit, her shields collapsing, hull breaching. She fires everything she has, her turbo lasers ripping into a Sith destroyer's reactor. Both ships explode in twin fireballs, their crews dying in an instant. This is war at its most brutal. No mercy, no quarter, just violence and death on a scale the galaxy hasn't seen since the Clone Wars. Lando Calrissian commands a wing of civilian vessels, smugglers and traders turned warriors. They use unconventional tactics, ramming maneuvers, close-range bombing runs, anything to even the odds. His ship, the Millennium Falcon, weaves through the battle like a ghost, dodging fire that should have killed him a dozen times over. He targets a Star Destroyer's engines, unleashing everything his guns have. The engines explode, the ship losing power, drifting into another destroyer. They collide in a shower of sparks and metal. 2 more down. But the Sith fleet is vast. For every ship the Resistance destroys, 2 more seem to take its place. The casualties mount, fighters explode, frigates are torn apart. Brave pilots die screaming as their ships disintegrate around them. The Resistance is outnumbered, outgunned, and slowly being ground down. Victory in space is impossible. The only hope lies with the strike team, with Mace Windu. The assault transport carrying Mace and his 10 students dives through the battle. Laser fire streaks past them. A Sith fighter locks on, firing. The transport's shields flare, nearly collapsing. Then Poe appears from nowhere, his X-wing destroying the Sith fighter with a precise shot. "Keep going," he transmits. "We'll cover you." The transport continues its descent, the citadel growing larger. It's a structure of nightmares. Black stone carved with Sith runes, built over a dark side nexus that pulses with malevolent energy. This is where Palpatine has been hiding, where he's been building his fleet, where he plans to unleash hell on the galaxy. And this is where Mace Windu will kill him. They crash through a hangar entrance, the transport's guns blazing, cutting down Sith troopers before the ramp even lowers. Mace is the first one out, his purple lightsaber igniting, the blade humming with barely restrained power. His students follow, their own sabers flashing to life. Blue, green, yellow, a rainbow of colors in the darkness. The Sith troopers pour in, their red armor gleaming, their weapons firing in disciplined volleys. But they're facing Jedi. Real Jedi trained by a master who's fought in more battles than they've seen days. The troopers don't stand a chance. Mace moves through them like a force of nature, Vapad turning their aggression into graceful death. His blade deflects blaster bolts back at their source. His presence in the Force crushes their morale. Within 30 seconds, the hangar is secured, 24 troopers dead or dying. The students look to their master. He's already moving, heading deeper into the citadel. "Follow me, and stay close. We're in the belly of the beast now." The architecture of the citadel shifts as they descend. What starts as industrial corridors becomes something organic, alien. The walls pulse with dark side energy. Veins of red crystal run through the stone, glowing faintly, feeding power to the structure. The air grows thick, oppressive, making it hard to breathe. Whispers echo from nowhere, speaking in languages long dead, promising power and damnation in equal measure. Some of the students falter, their hands trembling, their resolve wavering. The dark side here is overwhelming, pressing against their minds, trying to corrupt them. But Mace's presence anchors them, his discipline, his control. He's walked in darkness before and emerged unbroken. They can do the same. They push forward, descending through levels of the Citadel, fighting when they must, avoiding patrols when they can. Time becomes meaningless in this place. Minutes feel like hours. Hours feel like seconds. The Force itself is distorted, warped by the nexus beneath them. They reach a massive chamber and find Kylo Ren waiting. He stands alone in the center, his crossguard lightsaber ignited, the red blade casting long shadows. Behind him, a staircase descends into deeper darkness. "You," he says, his voice distorted by the mask. "The ghost who won't die." Mace steps forward, his students fanning out behind him. "I offered you a choice once, Ben. The offer still stands." Kylo's grip tightens on his saber. "I made my choice. I chose power, strength, everything the Jedi denied me." "Then why do you sound so uncertain?" Mace asks quietly. "Why does your voice waver? Why do you hesitate?" Kylo's answer is to charge, his rage palpable, his lightsaber swinging in brutal arcs. The students move to intercept, but Mace holds up a hand. "No, this is his fight. Let him come." The duel begins again, but this time it's different. Last time, Kylo was angry. Now he's desperate. He knows what waits below, knows what Palpatine plans. And some part of him, the part that's still Ben Solo, is screaming for help. Mace sees it in every strike. The conflict, the pain, the boy drowning beneath the monster. Their lightsabers clash, purple and red, light and dark. Kylo fights with everything he has, channeling the dark side, letting it fuel his strikes. But Mace is ready, more than ready. He's been preparing for this moment since their first encounter. He uses Vapad to perfection, turning Kylo's aggression into weapon, each parry flowing into a counterstrike. Kylo tries to overwhelm him with raw power, unleashing force attacks between lightsaber exchanges. Telekinesis, lightning, waves of dark energy. Mace weathers it all, his mastery of the Force absolute. He catches debris and hurls it back. He absorbs lightning into his blade. He stands firm against the dark side, an immovable object against an unstoppable force. And gradually, inevitably, Kylo begins to tire. His strikes become slower, his breathing labored. The mask he wears feels like a prison, cutting off his air, suffocating him. He wants to rip it off to breathe free. But that would mean admitting weakness. And he can't, won't. The dark side is all he has left. Mace sees his moment and strikes, not to kill, but to disarm. His lightsaber flashes in a precise arc, catching Kylo's blade at the hilt. The unstable crystal in Kylo's lightsaber, already barely contained, cracks under the impact. The weapon explodes in a shower of sparks and energy, throwing Kylo backwards. He hits the ground hard, his hands burned, his pride shattered. Mace stands over him, lightsaber raised, ready to deliver the killing blow. But he doesn't. Instead, he deactivates his blade and extends his hand. It's not too late. You can still come back. Kylo looks up at him, his mask cracked, his face visible through the damaged metal. Behind the anger and pain, there's something else. Hope. Desperate, fragile hope. He reaches up, and for a moment, it seems like he'll take Mace's hand. Then Snoke's voice echoes through the chamber, carried on the dark side. "Young Solo, kill them, all of them, or I will kill you." The compulsion washes over Kylo like a tidal wave. His hand drops, his expression hardens. But something has changed. He doesn't attack. Instead, he speaks, his voice barely a whisper. Go. Kill Palpatine. End this. But Supreme Leader Snoke, Kes begins. Is a puppet, Kylo interrupts. A clone. A tool Palpatine uses to control the First Order. The real threat is below, in the throne room. And if you don't stop him now, we're all dead. Mace studies him for a long moment, searching for deception, finding only broken sincerity. Then he nods. Thank you, Ben. The use of his real name makes Kylo flinch, but he doesn't object. He simply steps aside, gesturing to the staircase. Hurry! He's waiting for you. Mace turns to his students. Stay here. Guard the exit. If I don't return, evacuate and tell Leia what happened. Master, Kes protests. We should go with you. You've trained us for this. No, Mace says firmly. What's down there, it's beyond any of you. Beyond most Jedi who ever lived. I won't risk you. This is my fight, my burden. He looks at each of them in turn, memorizing their faces. You've been good students, better than I deserved. Whatever happens, remember what I taught you. Not just the techniques, but the philosophy. The Force is a tool. How you use it defines who you are. Be warriors, be protectors, but most of all, be yourselves. Don't let anyone, Jedi or Sith, tell you what you must be. He turns to Kylo. And you? Stay with them. Help them if more enemies come. It's a start toward redemption. Kylo nods slowly. I will. Mace descends the staircase alone. The stairs seem endless, spiraling down into darkness so thick it feels solid. The temperature drops with each step, frost forming on the walls, on Mace's breath. The whispers become screams, thousands of voices crying out in agony and rage. The dark side presses against him, trying to crush his spirit, to break his will. But Mace Windu has walked in darkness for 70 years. This is nothing new, just another test, another challenge. He reaches the bottom and finds himself in a throne room vast beyond comprehension. The ceiling stretches into shadows so deep they might as well be infinity. The walls are carved with Sith runes that hurt to look at, that make the mind recoil. And at the center, suspended by cables and machinery, is Emperor Palpatine, or what's left of him. His body is a withered husk, more corpse than man, skin gray and cracked, eyes sunken but burning with yellow fire. Tubes run into his flesh, feeding him nutrients, keeping his broken body alive through sheer malevolent will and Sith alchemy. This is what immortality looks like. Not power or glory, just suffering stretched across decades. A soul too stubborn to die, clinging to existence through hatred alone. When Palpatine speaks, his voice echoes with the power of 1,000 Sith Lords. Mace Windu, I have been expecting you. You should have stayed in hiding, old Jedi. Should have died with your order. But you always were too stubborn to accept defeat. Mace ignites his lightsaber, the purple blade cutting through the darkness. I came here to finish what I started 30 years ago, to kill you. And this time, I'll make sure you stay dead. Palpatine laughs, a sound like breaking glass and screaming metal. Death. What a quaint concept. I have died before, Jedi. I have returned. I am all the Sith. Their power flows through me. Every dark side user who ever lived, their essence resides in me. You cannot kill what is eternal. We'll see about that, Mace replies. He charges, his lightsaber raised, channeling the Force. But Palpatine is ready. He raises both withered hands and unleashes lightning. Not the Force lightning Mace remembers. This is something worse, amplified by decades of dark side rituals, by the deaths of worlds, by the suffering of billions. It fills the throne room, a storm of blue-white energy that tears at reality itself. Mace brings up his lightsaber, the blade catching the lightning, acting as a conduit. The energy flows through the weapon, through his body, trying to burn him from the inside out. His muscles scream, his heart stutters, every nerve ending ignites in agony. But he doesn't stop, doesn't retreat. He pushes forward, one step at a time, his will iron, his determination absolute. Vaapad, the seventh form, the form that turns an enemy's aggression into strength. Every volt of electricity Palpatine pours into him, Mace channels back. The lightning begins to arc, to redirect, to flow in directions Palpatine didn't intend. The Emperor's eyes widen in surprise. Impossible. You're one man, one broken old man. How are you doing this? Because I learned from our last fight. Mace grits out. You rely too much on power, not enough on precision. And because I've spent 30 years preparing for this moment. He reaches deep into the Force, drawing on reserves he's never touched before. Light side, dark side. The boundary between them dissolves. He becomes a conduit for the Force itself, raw and primal, neither good nor evil, but simply power. The lightsaber in his hand blazes brighter, the purple blade turning almost white with intensity. He pushes through the lightning storm, closing the distance. Palpatine realizes the danger and stops the lightning, instead pulling himself free from the machinery that sustains him. His withered body should collapse, unable to support its own weight. But the dark side holds him together, animates him like a puppet. He reaches out and a lightsaber flies to his hand. Ancient, Sith-made. The blade ignites blood red and they clash. The duel is brief but cataclysmic. Palpatine fights with skill honed over a century, his blade work a blur, his movements defying his body's limitations. But Mace is faster, stronger, more focused. He's not fighting with anger or hatred. He's fighting with purpose. Every strike is precise, every parry calculated. He drives Palpatine back, forcing the Emperor to give ground for the first time in decades. Their lightsabers lock, purple and red, grinding together, faces inches apart. You can't win, Palpatine hisses. Even if you kill me, my fleet will destroy your resistance. My followers will carry on my vision. The Sith are eternal. Then I'll kill them too, Mace replies. Every last one. Until there's no one left to spread your poison. He breaks the lock and strikes. His lightsaber cuts through Palpatine's weapon, severing the blade. Then it continues, slashing across the Emperor's chest. Palpatine stumbles, ichor black as oil seeping from the wound. He tries to summon more lightning, but Mace is already moving. He grabs Palpatine with his cybernetic hand, the metal fingers closing like a vice around the Emperor's throat. Palpatine claws at the arm, trying to break free, unleashing bursts of dark side energy. Mace feels his cybernetic arm beginning to fail, the components melting under the onslaught. But he doesn't let go. Can't let go. This is the moment, the chance he lost 30 years ago. He won't fail again. With his free hand, he raises his lightsaber. This is for the Jedi, for the Republic, for everyone you've murdered. Palpatine's eyes widen. He tries to speak, to plead or threaten or bargain. But Mace doesn't give him the chance. The purple blade drives through the Emperor's heart. For a moment, nothing happens. Then Palpatine begins to scream, not with his voice, with the Force, a psychic shriek that echoes across the galaxy, felt by every Force-sensitive being alive. His body convulses, dark side energy pouring out of him, uncontrolled and chaotic. Mace is thrown back by the blast, his cybernetic arm torn free, his body battered. He hits the ground hard, pain lancing through him. But he forces himself to look, to see if it worked. Palpatine's body is disintegrating, the dark side consuming it from within. Flesh turns to ash. Bones crumble. The machines that kept him alive explode, cables whipping through the air. And from the corpse, something emerges. Spirits, shadows, the essences of every Sith Lord who ever lived, bound to Palpatine through dark rituals. They swarm through the throne room, shrieking and wailing, formless and terrible. Mace tries to stand, but his body won't cooperate. Too much damage, too much strain. He's pushed himself past his limits, and there's a price to pay. The Sith spirits converge on him, their hunger palpable. They want to possess him, to use his body as a new vessel, to continue their existence through him. Mace feels them pressing against his mind, trying to break through his defenses. He resists, channeling the Force, building walls of will and discipline. But there are so many of them. And he's so tired. He's been fighting for 30 years, decades of exile, months of war, and now this final battle. Even Mace Windu has limits. He feels his defenses beginning to crack, feels the darkness creeping in. And for the first time in a long time, he feels fear. Not fear of death, fear of corruption, of becoming what he's fought against, of turning into another Sith Lord, perpetuating the cycle of violence and hatred. He would rather die, would rather let his spirit dissolve into the Force than become that. So he makes a choice, the same choice Obi-Wan made on the Death Star, the same choice Luke made confronting Palpatine. He stops fighting, stops resisting, opens himself completely to the Force, light and dark, good and evil, all of it. He becomes a vessel, a conduit, and he channels everything. The dark side energy pouring from Palpatine's corpse flows into him. Through him, it should destroy him, should corrupt him. But Mace doesn't hold on to it. He lets it pass through like water through a sieve. The Sith spirits scream as they're drawn in, unable to resist the pull. One by one, they're absorbed, neutralized. Their malevolent essences unraveling as they touch the pure Force energy Mace is channeling. It's agony. Every second feels like an eternity. Mace's body is on fire, his mind fracturing under the strain. But he holds on, has to hold on, because if he fails, if even one of these spirits escapes, they'll find a new host, continue the cycle, and everything he's fought for will be meaningless. So he endures, suffers, burns, until finally, the last spirit is consumed. The throne room falls silent. The dark side energy dissipates, and Mace Windu collapses, his body broken, his spirit exhausted, his task complete. Far above, the Sith fleet begins to fail. The dark side nexus powering the ships, sustained by Palpatine's presence, unravels. Star destroyers go dark, their weapons powering down, their systems failing. The Resistance fleet, battered but not broken, seizes the opportunity. Leia's voice rings out over the comms. All ships, press the attack. They're vulnerable. Finish them. The battle shifts. What was a desperate defense becomes an overwhelming assault. Resistance bombers scream forward, unleashing their payloads on disabled Star destroyers. Fighters strafe exposed hulls, targeting critical systems. Capital ships move in close, firing broadsides that tear through unpowered shields. One by one, the Sith destroyers are destroyed. Explosions light up the void, debris spreading in expanding clouds. The tide has turned. The impossible is happening. They're winning. On the ground, Kylo feels Palpatine's death through the Force. The compulsion that's controlled him for years, the dark whisper in the back of his mind, suddenly goes silent. For the first time since he destroyed Luke's temple, his thoughts are his own. The realization staggers him. Everything he's done, everyone he's killed. It was all manipulation. Palpatine's puppet strings guiding his every move. The knowledge should destroy him, should break him, but instead, it frees him. He tears off his mask, throwing it aside, and looks at Mace's students. We need to go. Get your master and evacuate. The citadel is collapsing. They feel it too. The structure shaking, the dark side nexus imploding. Kes and Theron lead the way down the staircase, the others following. They find the throne room in ruins, the walls cracked, the floor buckling. And in the center, surrounded by the remains of Palpatine's machinery, is Mace Windu. He's alive, but barely. His breathing is shallow, his eyes closed. Burns cover his body. His cybernetic arm is gone, torn away. Kes drops to her knees beside him. Master, we need to move. Can you stand? Mace's eyes flutter open. His voice is weak. Did we win? The Sith fleet is falling apart, Theron reports. The Resistance is winning. Then it was worth it. Mace whispers. Get out of here. Leave me. I'll only slow you down. We're not leaving you, Kes says fiercely. You taught us never to abandon our own. She and Theron lift him, supporting his weight between them. The group makes their way back through the citadel, fighting off the few Sith troopers who haven't fled or surrendered. The building shakes continuously now, chunks of ceiling falling, the floor splitting. They reach the hangar just as the transport, piloted by Resistance commandos, lands. Everyone boards. Kylo is the last one on, looking back at the citadel one final time. Then the ramp closes, and they lift off. The transport climbs through the atmosphere as the citadel implodes behind them, collapsing into a crater of twisted metal and stone. They barely escape the shock wave, the pilot fighting to keep control as turbulence buffets the ship. Then they're clear, entering orbit, joining the Resistance fleet in mopping up the last of the Sith destroyers. The battle ends an hour later. The Sith Eternal Fleet is destroyed, reduced to debris and wreckage. The First Order, already weakened by months of Resistance strikes, collapses completely without Palpatine's guidance. Supreme Leader Snoke, revealed to be nothing but a clone controlled by Palpatine, disintegrates when the Emperor dies. The command structure fractures. Some officers surrender, others flee into the unknown regions. A few try to fight on, but are quickly overwhelmed. The war is over. The galaxy is free. The cost is staggering. A third of the Resistance fleet is destroyed. Thousands of soldiers and pilots are dead. Entire squadrons were wiped out. But they won. Against impossible odds, against the greatest evil the galaxy has ever known, they won. Leia stands on the bridge of the command ship, watching the celebration begin, and allows herself a moment of relief. Then she orders medical teams to prepare. There are wounded who need help, including a Jedi Master who gave everything to save them all. Mace wakes 3 days later in a medical bay. His body is covered in bandages and back-to-patches. His missing arm has been fitted with a temporary prosthetic. Every movement hurts. But he's alive. Leia is sitting beside the bed when he opens his eyes. She smiles. Welcome back. We were worried you wouldn't make it. Takes more than an emperor to kill me, Mace says, his voice hoarse. Leia's expression becomes serious. What you did down there, channeling that much dark side energy, that should have killed you, or worse. But you're still here, still yourself. How? Discipline, Mace replies, and a willingness to sacrifice. I was ready to die, ready to dissolve into the Force if it meant ending Palpatine. But the Force had other plans. He looks at her. How bad are the casualties? Bad, Leia admits. But we won. The First Order is finished. The Sith are gone. Really gone this time. You made sure of that. And now we get to build something better. A republic that learns from past mistakes. A Jedi Order that doesn't repeat old failures. She tells him about the aftermath. How Kylo Ren, now calling himself Ben Solo again, has surrendered to Resistance custody. How he's providing intelligence on remaining First Order cells and assets. How he's asked to face trial for his crimes, accepting responsibility rather than seeking escape. Mace nods slowly. Redemption is possible for him. But it won't be easy. He has a lot to atone for. So do we all, Leia says quietly. She tells him about the students, how they performed flawlessly during the evacuation, how they've been helping with relief efforts, using their powers to aid the wounded and rebuild damaged infrastructure, how they're already becoming legends among the Resistance. Mace feels a swell of pride. They're good kids, better than I was at their age. They'll do great things, if they're guided properly. And who will guide them, Leia asks. The war is over. What happens to them now? Mace is silent for a long moment. Then he speaks. They need to choose their own path. Rey is rebuilding the Jedi in Luke's image. Light side only. Emotion is the enemy. The old way. My students, they've learned something different. But I won't force them to choose. They're not weapons anymore. They're people. Let them decide who they want to be. The recovery is slow. Weeks turn into months. Mace undergoes surgery to repair the damage from Exegol. A new cybernetic arm is fitted, more advanced than the last. Physical therapy helps him regain his strength. But the deeper wounds, the spiritual ones, take longer to heal. He meditates for hours each day, processing what happened in the throne room. The dark side energy he channeled, the Sith spirits he consumed. By all rights, he should have fallen, should have been corrupted. But somehow, he wasn't. The Force protected him, or perhaps his decades of discipline created a foundation strong enough to withstand the darkness. He's not sure, may never be sure, but he's grateful. During his recovery, his students visit regularly. They tell him about their plans. Kes wants to continue fighting, to root out remaining First Order sympathizers and ensure the peace holds. Theron wants to travel, to find other Force sensitives and help them understand their abilities. Others have different goals, teaching, healing, building. They're diverging, finding their own paths, and Mace couldn't be prouder. Ben Solo visits too. Their conversations are difficult, painful. Ben carries guilt for everything he did as Kylo Ren. Mace doesn't offer easy forgiveness. What you did was terrible, unforgivable in many ways. But you're here now, trying to make amends. That counts for something. Ben's trial is public, broadcast across the galaxy. He pleads guilty to all charges: war crimes, murder, terrorism. The prosecution calls for execution. But Leia speaks in his defense, not to excuse his actions, but to explain the manipulation he endured. How Palpatine corrupted him from childhood, how Snoke twisted his mind. The court is moved, but not swayed. Ben is sentenced to life imprisonment. He accepts the verdict without protest. But Leia has other plans. She arranges for him to serve his sentence in a different way, working with Rey to rebuild the Jedi Order, using his knowledge of the dark side to help prevent future falls. It's not freedom, it's penance. And Ben embraces it. Rey and Mace meet for the first time since before Exegol. Their conversation is tense. She still disagrees with his methods, still believes the dark side is inherently corrupting. But she can't deny the results. He killed Palpatine, destroyed the Sith, saved the galaxy. That has to count for something. They agree to disagree. Rey will rebuild the Jedi in Luke's image, emphasizing light and redemption. Mace's students will forge their own path, embracing the full spectrum of the Force. Two philosophies, two approaches. Time will tell which is right, or perhaps both are in their own ways. The galaxy is big enough for multiple interpretations of the Force. As long as they share the same goal, protecting the innocent and maintaining peace, they can coexist. The New Republic is formally established 6 months after Exegol. Elections are held. Mon Mothma, who survived the destruction of Hosnian because she was visiting Chandrila, is elected Chancellor. But she announces this will be her final term. The galaxy needs new leadership, younger voices. She implements sweeping reforms, military oversight to prevent another clone army situation, checks and balances to prevent a single individual from accumulating too much power, representation for Outer Rim worlds that were ignored by the Old Republic. It's not perfect. No system is. But it's better. A step in the right direction. Leia becomes the senator from Alderaan in exile, representing the survivors scattered across the galaxy. She works tirelessly to ensure the mistakes of the past aren't repeated. And when she retires 5 years later, she does so knowing she's helped build something lasting. Mace doesn't participate in the new government. He's not a politician, never was. Instead, he focuses on training. Not a new Jedi Order, but something else. A group of warriors dedicated to protecting the Republic from threats both external and internal. He calls them the Guardians. They're not bound by the old Jedi code, but follow their own principles. Emotion is a tool, not a weakness. The dark side can be studied and understood without being embraced. Power must be tempered with responsibility. And above all, action is better than passivity. The Guardians attract Force users who don't fit with Rey's new Jedi. People who've seen war, who've suffered, who understand that sometimes the only way to stop evil is to meet it with strength. Mace trains them personally, passing on decades of knowledge. Viapad, tactical planning, philosophy. He's harder on them than he was on his first students. Because this time, there's no war to temper them. They need to be disciplined enough to wield power without abusing it. Kes becomes his second in command, leading missions when Mace is too old or injured to participate. Theron establishes a network of safe houses for Force-sensitive children, ensuring they have a choice between Rey's Jedi, Mace's Guardians, or living civilian lives. The others spread across the galaxy, each finding their purpose. And slowly, over years, the Guardians become respected. Feared by some, yes, but also trusted. When disaster strikes, when threats emerge, the Guardians respond. Not with speeches or diplomacy, but with action. They're the Republic's sword. And Mace Windu, despite his age, despite his injuries, remains their leader. For 10 years, he guides the Guardians, watches them grow, takes pride in their successes. He sees the galaxy heal, sees the New Republic flourish, sees Rey's Jedi Order train a new generation committed to Luke's ideals. And he sees his own Guardians, walking the line between light and dark, proving that balance is possible. But time catches up with everyone, even Jedi Masters. Mace is in his 80s now, his body failing despite the Force. The injuries from Exegol never fully healed. He knows his time is coming, so he makes arrangements, transfers leadership of the Guardians to Kes, ensures their funding is secure, writes down his teachings so future generations can learn from them. And then, when everything is in order, he retires to Naboo. Leia is there, in her final years, writing her memoirs. They spend evenings on her veranda, watching the sunset, discussing the galaxy they helped save. "We did it," Leia says one evening. "Built something worth protecting." Mace nods. We did. But it's not finished. It never is. Every generation will have to fight for peace in their own way. That's the burden of civilization. Leia smiles. But at least we gave them a chance. A fighting chance. That's more than we had. Mace Windu dies peacefully in his sleep 2 years later. He simply doesn't wake up one morning, his spirit finally released to become one with the Force. The galaxy mourns. Statues are erected in his honor. His name is spoken with reverence. The Jedi remember him as the master who survived Order 66 and returned to save them all. The Guardians remember him as their founder, the one who taught them to wield power without corruption. And the galaxy remembers him as the warrior who killed Palpatine and ended the Sith forever. His funeral is attended by thousands. Republic dignitaries, Jedi Guardians, Resistance veterans. Even Ben Solo, out of prison after serving his sentence, pays his respects. Rey delivers the eulogy. She speaks of his strength, his discipline, his willingness to do what was necessary, even when it cost him everything. She admits she didn't always agree with his methods, but she never doubted his commitment to protecting the innocent. Master Windu walked a path few could follow. He touched darkness and emerged unbroken. He channeled the full power of the Force, light and dark, and used it to save us all. The galaxy is diminished by his passing, but his legacy lives on. In the Guardians he trained, in the Republic he protected, in every person who refuses to accept tyranny. Mace Windu was a Jedi, a warrior, a Guardian, and a hero. May the Force be with him, always. They lay his body to rest beside Leia's, on Naboo, overlooking the lakes. His lightsaber is placed in the Jedi Temple on Ossus, in a chamber honoring fallen masters. Beside Yoda, Obi-Wan, Luke, and now Mace. The purple blade remains unlit, a symbol of what was lost and what endures. Kes visits the temple years later, now an old woman herself, her own students continuing the Guardian's work. She places a hand on the display case and smiles. Thank you, Master, for everything. You showed us that the Force is more than just light or dark, that we can be more than what others expect, that we can choose our own path and walk it with honor. Rest now. You've earned it. She leaves, and the chamber falls silent. But the Force remains, eternal and unchanging, carrying the echoes of all who've touched it. Mace Windu's presence lingers there, not as a ghost, but as a memory, a lesson, a reminder that even in the darkest times, one person can make a difference, can change the course of history, can save the galaxy. That's our theory. The Star Wars universe is a galaxy filled with exciting stories and possibilities, and we love exploring them. If you want to accompany us on this journey to a galaxy far, far away, then please like, share, and subscribe to our channel.